Live here on YouTube, okay? Is the sound okay? Let's get everything all right right at the start here. And it's a bold topic, right, Breton?
Oh yeah, a little bold, a little bold. First off, come on, we are what, single digits away from the Premier League season starting. I am psyched. I am ready to go, and let's like start off. What are we talking about today?
We are talking here about the most important and best Premier League player for each Prem side, because next season the expectations have to be at the highest, because the Premier League has never had this sort of investment, which is bold. So I'm hyped, man.
Yeah, well, welcome to everybody that's joining us here. I am hyped as well, and I don't know. We've got 20 teams to talk about. How are we going to do this? We want to start alphabetically. We want to just pick out of a hat. I don't have a hat, so I think we're going to start alphabetically, right?
I'd say that too. And people, do not forget to like this video if you're enjoying what's to come. And I gotta say, we are going to go bold because we still haven't done the Prem predictions, so might as well see a little bit of a sneak peek with our opinions about who to watch, the best player of the Premier League for each side. But as you said, alphabetical order, so we gotta start here with Arsenal, okay? And I'll give you the stage to shine when Arsenal start first.
Ooh, I get to start here. You know what? I just gotta say, it feels like so long ago that we were talking about Arteta out and how there was no direction for this club. And I got to say, if you didn't think a good, solid, successful transfer window couldn't change the outcome of a club and the direction a club is going, then, Arsenal is lesson number one of that being the case, because it absolutely has. And I got to say, with that said, the most important player. I'm not going to go with best player. That's a slippery slope. But you could also make the argument he is the best player.
There's a lot of players.
There are a lot of players. There are a lot of players at Arsenal that could take that role. But I'm going to say most important might actually be the best player, most well-rounded player on that team as well. And I am going to go, and I do believe he's in the thumbnail. I am going to go with Bukayo Saka. He is the most picked player for Mikel Arteta for a reason, okay? He's featured in 113 of Mikel Arteta's 130 games in charge. And you'd normally reserve that type of trust for, like, I don't know, a vet, like somebody that's been there for 7 years, 8 years. But, like, come on, he's tenacious, he's determined, he's improved loads over the last several seasons. He has the ability to make something happen at a moment's notice. And let's be honest, Arteta trusts him even at his age. So I couldn't look my way past Bukayo Saka, but I'm sure there's many others we could talk about there. But Saka is the most important Arsenal player for me.
I agree with that. I think the most important Arsenal player for last season, definitely Saka. And for the next, if they're going to get a Champions League spot, Saka will have to improve even more than I believe he will. He's only 20 still. Bukayo Saka is 20, so that itself is a madness. But I want to go bold here with with the player I'm going to say. And yes, I don't want to say one, but I'll say the best for next season. I'd say maybe a Saliba should be there, because Saliba, if he's in the same form that we saw in Liga at Marseille, he'll be considered one of the best center backs in the Premier League. And at 21, that would be pretty important, I'd say, and a great title to have right at the start. Okay, and I feel like for Arsenal, Gabriel is a beast, but Saliba is a different breed. I feel like the potential is higher. And I gotta mention Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus, big price tag, big responsibility in my opinion. And if Arsenal are going to be much better than last season, it's the goals. And the most important player, not the best, the most important player for Arsenal next season for me is Gabriel Jesus. Because the goals have to happen. And if there's no goals, Arsenal won't get the top four. So that's the player I gotta say. But Odegaard is so hard not to say Odegaard. Or just give the mention. Because, Fabio Vieira or Odegaard. You people would expect me to say Fabio Vieira. But I'll say,
Yeah.
like, Bernard Silva's not, you could say, but we'll get to City, but Fabio Vieira will be
Yeah.
important at Arsenal.
Yeah, you're jumping.
So,
Come on, man, you're jumping all over the
I
place. We
know,
got
I'm
to
sorry.
spend a little more time on Arsenal here, and the only nit I'm gonna pick with your Saliba shout there is just the fact that I wonder if Arteta views him the same way,
I think so.
right?
I think
I
so.
honestly believe that Gabriel and White are his first teamers heading into
Preseason.
this, and we'll see. Yeah,
Preseason gave me
but
the
true.
answers. Saliba
Okay,
made Arsenal get clean sheets nonstop, and he
sure.
just impressed. Saliba doesn't
Okay.
even need to tackle. Saliba's best trait is an anticipation with his speed. So
Yeah.
I love him, man. That's why it's the elegance.
But
I like
But
it.
I guess I mean,
A lot.
and you wound up picking Gabriel Jesus, right, after some shout outs. And I agree in the chats. It's hard to do that when he's a new signing, but at the same time, that you get a new signing, he's got importance because there is an expectation from
16
him.
million.
And if you're gonna throw Gabriel Jesus and that money at Gabriel Jesus, you almost actually have to maybe think about what Zinchenko can bring to this, right? Yes, Kieran Tierney is on the mend. He is coming back. But will Zinchenko play best at left back? Will he play best in the midfield? I know he wants to play in the midfield. I just don't know, but he could play an outsized role for them moving forward. But come on, I can't look my way past. He's a lightning bolt. Bukayo Saka, I knew you were going to probably say him if I wasn't going to say him, but Bukayo Saka, he just is getting better and better every year. And now that there's more expectations on the shoulders of the Gunners heading into the season, Champions League or bust, I think, it's going to come down to the most trusted player in the form of minutes played, in the form of the amount of times he's been on the pitch for Arteta, is Bukayo Saka, and he is going to have to put in one hell of a shift this season for them to achieve their goals.
And the last player that I cannot forget to mention here is Martinelli, another player that shows glimpses of unbelievable form. And if he's going to be in the World Cup, he surely has to prove himself at the start of the season with Arsenal. So Martinelli, if his dribbling is on point and no injuries, Martinelli will be another player that will be bold. So put down below, who will be the best player for Arsenal in your opinion, community? We want to see your answers. And now, interesting here, Bournemouth, okay? So, do I go here first?
You skipping Villa's alphabetical, man. We got to go Aston Villa.
Ah, okay. I've had Villa third. Weird. Sophie score.
That's all right.
Okay, so Villa. Okay, Aston Villa. I'm going to say here, Philippe Coutinho, okay? If Aston Villa are going to go bold in the Prem, Coutinho has to be the main man. And we saw the impact he had from January onwards. Stevie G loves the man, and we love to watch him too. But if Aston Villa are going to do bits and end in the top 8, that is clearly the intention that they have. A signing like Diego Carlos clearly has the intention of being one of the best center backs in the league, like he was in La Liga. So I have to mention him. And two players that I am doubtful of how good they will be is Leon Bailey. I feel like Leon Bailey will have to be better than last season, and Emilio Buendia. They has to be much better too than last season, because I feel like the whole group is improving. Boubacar Kamara, if we saw him at Marseille, another player too. And and the most important player, in my opinion, not the best, of Aston Villa is Douglas Luiz. And you cannot get a CDM that easy in today's market. And Douglas Luiz can pass the ball, can read the game extremely well, and he can always put in a shift for that tackle. So Douglas Luiz surely is a player that won't stay long at Aston Villa. So
the pride of Vasco da Gama, right? Well, I got to tell you, I mean, all great shout outs, but that's not the most important player this season for me. But before I get to that, and he's not my most important player, but I do have to just register my love here for everybody to hear, okay, and to hold me accountable for. But Boubacar Kamara is one of my favorite young talents that will be playing in the Premier League this season. I absolutely enjoyed him for Marseille. He would have played a bigger role last season if the boss, who shall not be named, the boss did not let contract negotiations and contract annoyances get in the way. But Boubacar Kamara is one of my favorite youngsters to watch this season. But in my opinion, he is not the most important player for Aston Villa. The best player, I agree, is Coutinho. The most important player, though, is John McGinn. Okay, and I bring that up why? Because the news just came out that Stevie Gerrard named him captain, yanked it out of Tyrone Mings' hand, but you got to give Tyrone Mings credit for taking it like a man. He's ready to go, and Tyrone Mings never puts in less than 100%, so we all know he'll be fine. But I don't know. The more I look at I love Kamara, I love Coutinho. I really like what Gerrard is building there, but I also have my worries. About whether or not Villa can get that top 8 this season. And I worry because I can't look past, say, an Ollie Watkins and a Danny Ings and all the money they spent on Buendia and on Bailey. You're absolutely right. One or two of them has to have a big season, or else Cameron Archer is coming for their jobs, or Jacob Ramsey is coming for their jobs, as they rightfully should. But ultimately, there's a lot of question marks still for whether or not Villa faded. They faded into the end of last year. They did not do well heading into the end of the season. True. So I'm really, really so many question marks, but it's all going to come from John McGinn, putting his stamp on the game. He is not the best player out there, but if you know anything about John McGinn, that guy will literally tear his face off for the team to succeed, even with limited capacity. Absolutely.
And I agree with you. Aston Villa against the big teams, they would go neck and neck, but the small teams, they had the focus levels of that team. Sure, I really felt that, they needed top players. And I feel like this season, Stevie G has no excuses with Aston Villa, and that's why it's going to be so exciting to watch what's going to happen right there. So now, Bournemouth?
Well, before we do Bournemouth,
okay,
please, guys, it costs you nothing. Like this stream. Please do it. Yes. But Bournemouth, man, I got to say, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview for my predictions coming up when we next have either a live or this podcast. Bournemouth is my number 20. I don't think that's any surprise. They have not signed anybody. But I still have PTSD from when Bournemouth was free spending like crazy. And do you remember that there was a time when Bournemouth spent almost £40 million on 2 Liverpool players that literally had, a couple Premier League goals between them?
Not the same now. Not the same.
I know it's not the same, but my goodness, I cannot believe that they felt like that was a certainty. And I'm sure us here at FC Wonderkid probably were cheering on the boldness of the moves then. But my goodness, Jordan Ibe and Dom Solanke have not paid off, but Dom Solanke is going to be my most important player for Bournemouth moving forward.
Same. My answer is the same. I like Brooks, but what happened was unfortunate, and I really felt like that was a talented player for Bournemouth at the time. But Solanke's goal involvement was absolutely ridiculous, and the importance that he has for that team. If they stay up, it's with Solanke. It's with Solanke scoring 15 Premier League goals, the minimal, because he has to score for a lot of other players that don't score at Bournemouth. But
here's the thing: he has 4 goals in 63 Premier League appearances. Right? It's not that he didn't play or wasn't given chances. And yes, a lot of those came off the bench when he was playing for Liverpool, playing for Bournemouth. But Dominic Solanke has had his chance in the Premier League, kind of like another player we're going to talk about when we get to the F teams. But you cannot come off a better year. I mean, he's going to come in hopefully hitting the ground running because he hit for 29 goals last year. He had 7 assists. And he was not really talked about last season for Bournemouth because a certain Alexander Mitrovic was breaking records in the championship. So I am so immensely surprised that they cut bait on Jordan Ibe. I am so immensely surprised that Dominic Solanke has become a ridiculously productive member of the Cherries, right? So it is really, really interesting to me. to see how he kind of has learned from this relegation promotion experience. But I do love in the chat section that just for like
Yes.
the posterity's sake, just for the Hollywood take on things, wouldn't it be amazing if David Brooks dropped double-digit goals, double-digit assists in the Premier League this season with what he has had to go through to get back?
Fun. It would be phenomenal. It would be inspired by
great.
Christian Eriksen a bit, no? Unbelievable.
A little bit.
Sheesh. And the team level, too. It can be a comparison. And if that's the lead up, right? If that's the lead up with Brentford, it's Brentford right next. So Brentford, okay. And do not forget to put down below who do you think is the best player, in your opinion, from every team we mentioned. But now with Brentford, I'm going to go to striker again. And this is similar trait. Ivan Toney, in my opinion, is the guy at Brentford. And it's shocking to me that he's still there. There. I like he can be an excellent, not like starter, but just a role player. Considering how difficult it is to get a striker nowadays, and Toney puts the numbers in the Premier League. So for me, if Brentford go bold like in the 12th, the 11th position, that will be successful considering there's no Christian Eriksen now. It's with Ivan Toney scoring those goals. And yeah, for me, he's the most important player and best for Brentford.
And that's obviously a shout that I'm going to have to replicate because I do believe Ivan Toney. I'm also shocked he is no longer there or still there, considering 6 months ago it was Arsenal that was potentially chasing him in their quest for a 9. And Newcastle, we've heard them. They've been sniffing around Ivan Toney because they are looking for depth at the striker position. But I am very, very surprised that Brentford hasn't made more moves than they currently have. And so while I agree with you on Toney, I am going to say that their new signings, almost 20 million euros each one of them, right? Pretty close to that.
Yep.
They're going to have to play an incredibly outsized role. Like this isn't just the Premier League market saying that every player costs 20 million. They literally went in and they bought a championship player, Keane Lewis Potter from Hull City. I know a good amount about him. He was incredibly consistent for them. But at the same time, Hull City didn't have the best of seasons. He was one of the best players for a team that didn't have one of the best seasons in the championship. And whether or not that translates to the Premier League, it remains to be seen. But the one I'm most interested in watching, probably not the most important, probably not the best player on the team, but the one I'm most interested in watching is definitely Aaron Hickey for Brentford. He was one of the best left backs, one of the best fullbacks in all of Serie A last season. Young fullbacks. I should make sure I say that. And whether or not that's going to translate as part of the one of the lesser known London-based clubs.
And I was expecting Hickey to go to a higher team. Arsenal was in the news because of the shortage in the world that we have at left backs. There's not a ton of left backs. And that's why I love the signing of Leicester United at the time. But Hickey, I love that mention. So put down below, who do you think is the best player of Brentford? So Brighton now. And I know you're a big admirer of the coach, Graham Potter, which... he's doing bits with development of the squad and already having wonderkids like Enciso, Kozlowski, Moises Caicedo, the future of Brighton. Surely one of these players will be the best or one of the most important in the near future, okay? Bold potential, all these three. But I'm going to say the best player for Brighton, okay, next season, it's not Cucurella. It's not Cucurella because I think he's going to move. But Lamptey or Trossard. I was in between these two players. Trossard, why? Like, the amount of times I see Leandro Trossard just doing something magnificent. So many. And he's got those moments in which, against Arsenal, Brighton needed a goal. He scored that dagger goal that nobody was expecting. And I see him at 27. I still expect a move for him soon. And I mentioned Lamptey. Lamptey for me and Cucurella was one of the best fullback duos, especially young fullback duos in the Prem and in the world. So for me, I gotta mention Lamptey fast, and I love the fact that he's going to Ghana. So those are my most important players at Brighton.
Yeah, I was gonna say new Ghanaian Wonderkid, Tariq Lamptey, right? Yes. That is gonna be really interesting. But yeah, I am Leandro Trossard. Caicedo, I'll talk about him in 2 seconds, but like I do have to say, Leandro Trossard, he had a tough time transitioning when he first came in. Yeah. And man, last season was a breakout season for him, and he was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, a lot of fun to watch. And it amazes me that a lot of people you're expecting me to pick Moises Caicedo. I really want to pick him, but I really do think that the most important player for Brighton is still their captain, their talisman. Mm-hmm. It's Lewis Dunk, man. It is their center back. It is the one center back that still remains. No, just kidding. It's not the one center back that still remains, but Lewis Dunk is like a Tarkowski, right? There's a bunch of really solid English center backs that just get the Premier League, provide you with incredibly serviceable but not incredibly above average playing qualities. But he bleeds for the club, and Dunk has been nothing but a consummate professional. And I really do think Dunk he's the mainstay in Graham Potter's lineups. You know, he's sneakily probably one of the more consistent center backs in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And hopefully I don't get burned for that. But like Lewis Dunk is always front and center for them for a reason. Mm-hmm. But Caicedo, flashier. Julio Enciso, flashier. Man, do I want to see him, especially with his slight frame. I want to see him succeed in the Premier League because I really think he's got something to offer and not out on loan like they do with a lot of their young bucks and they send him out on loan. I think Enciso is going to play from the get-go. But if you're asking me who the most important player is for Brighton this coming season, it is definitely going to be still Lewis Dunk.
Interesting one. So people, put down below who's your choice for Brighton. And if you're enjoying this video, do not forget to like the video so you can go bolder. Yes, okay now. So this is the second, no disrespect to Arsenal, top team that we're going to mention. And it's from London too, and it's Chelsea now. And I'm very curious to know your answer, but I'll give my answer first here of the best and the most important, because for Chelsea, I'd say it's a very difficult answer to give. But the best, I'm going to say the best Chelsea player next season is going to be Kalidou Koulibaly. Okay? New signing. He is the best player in that team. He is the one that can be considered the best in a position. Okay? So for me, Koulibaly, I was surprised, okay, that Chelsea were the team that went to get him. And they went bold the right way. But now, most important is where I can defer here with Koulibaly because he's just been signed. Mason Mount, for me, is one of the most important, definitely, players at Chelsea, and Thiago Silva. I know he's 38, but still, Thiago Silva will be key for Chelsea next season if they're going to attack the title or maintain that top four, because there's a question now with Tuchel. And the last player that I got to say is Reece James, that any team in the world would love to have him at right back. Reece James is envious. And any team is envious of Chelsea in their position. So, that for me, I'd say one of the most important two. But I'm going to go with Koulibaly. I feel like he's going to be an instant get-go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as of right now, it is whether or not Koulibaly and Thiago Silva and Chalobah and I don't know, and these Malang Sarr, whether or not these guys can form some sort of a cohesive defensive unit, right?
Yes.
But ultimately, for me, it is going to be a new signing. Why would you go out and spend 50 million or so on Raheem Sterling if you don't expect him to get you goals? Okay, Mason Mount, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Mason Mount was the top goal scorer for Chelsea, right?
I'd say Havertz and Mount were definitely similar.
We're definitely up there.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know that they've relied a whole lot more on getting goals from the cam position than anywhere else. And ultimately, I think Raheem Sterling can change that. Why? Because Raheem Sterling has been in the top 5 of the Golden Boot race quite a bit, actually, Yes, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, but new experience, new place. He's back at home. He's in his hometown. He wants to get things done, and I have a feeling Raheem Sterling is going to hit the ground running for Tuchel. And I think he is going to be 15 goals and double-digit assists at least for Chelsea this season. Does Chelsea not need a 9 because Raheem Sterling is there? No, they absolutely need a 9. They need somebody there, or they need Havertz or Timo Werner to fill in. But I think Raheem Sterling is their most important, and likely by the end of the season will be considered their best player. For this, and also keeping N'Golo Kante healthy. And obviously, we know when the guy's on the field, he's world class. When he's not on the field, we miss his smile. I don't know if we consider him in the decline in any way, shape, or form, but he's got to be healthy. He's got to be on the field for him to have that outsized impact he always has for Chelsea. But Sterling,
I still rate Kante highly, but the truth is, Kante is 12 months into his contract to end. So let's wait and see what can happen with Kante. And let's be honest, I think Chelsea would like to get a Declan Rice soon. Sooner rather than later to partner up with Mount. But no disrespect to Kante. What he's done, unbelievable. Box-to-box midfielder, okay?
There's still so many moves that need to happen for this Chelsea team, and not even really incoming. Like, they have to decide on a whole lot of very serviceable players.
Agreed.
In the next week or two. We already know Ross Barkley is likely headed back to Everton or somewhere else. Okay, we don't need to talk about him, but he's still 28, and he can still play a role for a mid-table team in the Premier League. But we also have 21-year-old Billy Gilmore. Right, we don't know what's happening with him. We don't know if he's a depth piece this year or what the deal is. Callum Hudson-Odoi, Broja, who's back on the training pitch. Love to see that. Batshuayi, who was left at home.
I think he'll play a new position, wing back.
But I mean, we've been saying that for like years.
I feel
like
you,
Ziyech.
You,
Ziyech is reportedly on his way out, but we don't know yet. Christian Pulisic.
Oh, I was waiting on that one. And Levi Colville. We love the talent. So yeah, put down below, people, your thoughts on who's the best and most important player, or who's gonna leave. We love to have a good chat with whatever, and it's a bold question to have. And yes. Let's go with the next one, and it is Crystal Palace. And I'm going to start here by saying a player, again, how is he still there? And it's Wilfried Zaha, that he seems to love his life at London at Crystal Palace. And so he will be definitely a club icon legend, by the end of things. And the impact, the long legs, the dribbling, it's just creme de la creme, type player. I love him. And I love the fact that he came with Ferguson to United, right? And then he left, and then he managed to prove himself still. So, and he was hated a lot after leaving that Man United move. So getting back together was excellent to see. So
I think Zaha has finally accepted the fact that he's going to be a Crystal Palace player until his contract runs out. I mean, this guy has threatened to leave multiple times Crystal Palace, and yet he hit for 14 goals last season, 11 Premier League goals the year before that. And he's so immensely important to Palace because, they're very counterattacking. And there's always been transfer chatter around Zaha. He still performs. Sometimes he's wildly inconsistent in periods of the season, and then he just heats up. I mean, they finished 12th last season, but they actually had a +4 goal differential, which is not too shabby. And here's why I'm immensely, I wouldn't say sure, but I am very, what's the word? I have good feelings about Zaha. Bullish, thank you. I should know that. Bullish on him beating his tally from last season, Zaha. Beating 14 goals in the Prem. This is why I'm bullish. Eze is starting the season healthy.
True.
Michael Olise is starting the season healthy. They have their depth in place. They addressed, Gallagher left, get him back. That'd be awesome. But they brought in Cheik Doucouré, who is great. He's defensive mid, but he also has some, great attacking properties as young.
Mm-hmm.
They have gotten younger around Zaha. We've made a whole bunch of signings, and pretty much every one of them is under the age of 23.
Mm-hmm.
And they also just brought in a U.S. boy who can play right back and take over for the aging Joel Ward. He could play a depth piece behind Gahey and who's the other center back I'm missing there? Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a great left back, completely underrated left back, in my opinion, 22-year-old Tyreek Mitchell.
True.
So they've got really, it's whether or not they got depth, but they've got really solid pieces that could mount them for a top 8 run. Which may be some foreshadowing for my predictions as well. But it all comes down to whether or not Zaha and Odsonne Edouard with a full season under his belt, a Mateta, whether or not any of them can actually really coalesce and become a really solid attacking force like we saw glimpses of last season, but never hit the ground consistently for them.
I love how you first mentioned Eze now back in a full health, and that's true. We still haven't seen at Queen's Park Rangers the levels he showed. Now we want to see it at Crystal Palace, and I'm gonna say a prediction just so ending at Crystal Palace is I believe fully Michael Olise will not have only 5 assists in the Premier League when it ends, okay? Because if he's gonna go against a player like Camavinga at Real Madrid for the French national team in the future, he has to put better numbers, and I think he will do that. So at 20, Olise is a bold youngster to watch. And Patrick Vieira guiding you. Who better?
Yeah.
Who better?
But you know what's crazy? Olise's 5 assists, I believe, led the club last season. I believe it led the club. So they do have... did he have more?
I don't know.
He might I know he had, and they definitely will miss Conor Gallagher. I think Doucouré needs a little bit of time to, and I don't think he's a like for like, but if they can get Conor Gallagher back on loan with an option to buy, or just buy him outright, I might be a fan of this team this season.
That'd be absolutely perfect. And we'd have to change the answers. So put down below your answer for Crystal Palace. And if you're enjoying the video, do not forget to like this video, and thank you for liking the video, okay? And going bold. So, next, Everton. And I am curious to know your answer about this one. But I'm going to go first here with who I consider the best player at Everton. He might not be the best at Everton, but for me, he is the one that should be the best at Everton. And that is Alain at center mid. I fully believe if he's fully in form, Alain's a complete beast that could play at the Brazil national team. So Alain can do everything in midfield, and if he's fully formed, Everton will not go down, in my opinion. And like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I am not...
Yeah.
That's a player that I do not want to say. I know he's got a ton of fans in England, but I just don't know with him. I still have a lot of doubts. I don't know if he's a striker to play in an Arsenal. I wouldn't pick Dominic Calvert-Lewin ahead of Ollie Watkins. So that's the debate that it has to be at. And with Everton too, I just want to say that Anthony Gordon can be that guy too, okay? Anthony Gordon can improve another inch next season and be one of the best or most important players at Everton.
Yeah.
So, I know you love something. I know you're going to mention something too that...
Yeah. Yep. I am a long-term fan of, and I like him more than most, long-term fan of Dwight McNeil.
Exactly.
I am very, very happy. And I think that this is one of the, yes, he cost more than I would have expected from a relegated Burnley team. But this kid, he was second in the Premier League in dribbles won. Okay. And this is in a club that is not known for taking people on. This is Burnley. You had Maxwell Cornet and you had Dwight McNeil. Okay, and that's really it. So this club played defensive, and Dwight McNeil basically ended up for 3-4 years running being one of their most consistent attacking presences, and also great on defense as well. And to be honest, I think he fits perfectly what Frank Lampard is trying to instill into this Everton team, even though Frank Lampard was incredibly negative in a lot of his post-game interviews during the preseason so far. So I think there's a reason why you have guys that wear their shirts on wear their hearts on their sleeve, right? Like Dwight McNeil being brought in, and you have Anthony Gordon is very clearly Frank Lampard's top player. He has played him in every match of Frank Lampard's tenure, has had Anthony Gordon front and center in it. I think those are two he'd really like to build around. But none of this matters if you can't get Dom Calvert-Lewin scoring the way he started off last season. You might recall he started off last season in scintillating form before getting injuries and all that fun stuff. But no, I can't go farther than Anthony Gordon and Dwight McNeil in terms of importance for this club. I also like their kind of workman-like center back pairing in Tarkowski and Michael Keane. I think Keane was formerly a Burnley player too, right? Wasn't he?
True.
So it's like, I guess all of Burnley has just become a Goodison Park special or something.
And I see here in the chat by Sina, which I was gonna say that one, and it's Dele Alli too. He can have a redemption story at 26. Now's the time. Like, he can do it, and I love that show. Everton need him more than ever.
Yeah.
So Dele Alli.
Otherwise,
so
it's gonna be a tough season.
Definitely. So put down below who's your choice for Everton, and we want to know are they gonna stay up? Put down below your thoughts about that. Early thoughts on that one. So next, Fulham. I'm gonna take the lead here, okay, for Fulham, because I fully believe a new signing will be the best player of Fulham this season, and it's gonna be João Palhinha. Because as I said previously, I was shook that Fulham was the team to get João Palhinha, and I fully believe if Fulham go down, he will even stay in the Prem, and he'll go to a top team afterwards. He will show that he's perfect for the Premier League. He just fits the bill so well. But Mitrovic, come on, score those goals in the Prem and not just in the Championship. So that's another player I gotta say. But Palhinha, I really feel it's gonna be different breed. Yeah.
I had a feeling you were going to go with Palhinha, and I still think you're not over the shock that he has wound up at Craven Cottage, right?
I'm shocked still. Honestly. Like, wow.
Are you hurt because you expected him to go to a much higher caliber team?
I know he rejected offers from higher teams. I can tell you that. I know that as a fact. A big convincer for Palhinha was Mark Silva. The coach, the project, he convinced Palhinha. And to be honest, who wouldn't want to play in London in the Premier League? So, like, new family too. So, respect to Palhinha. Go bold now.
Yeah,
go bold, bros.
being from the U.S., Fulham plays a little bit of a, it's got a soft spot in my heart with all the Americans that have come through. Brian McBride, Dempsey, you got Jedi Robinson there, left back. Tim Ream, who's going to get, he's not really Premier League caliber anymore, but, Marco Silva relied on him a lot last season. But no, the first Premier League game I ever went to, when I went over to London with my wife, I went over and I said, should we go to Arsenal? Should we go to Chelsea? Should we go to West Ham? Should we go to Tottenham? You want to know where I wanted to go first? Craven Cottage. Craven Cottage, baby. And Alexander Mitrovic scored on that day. They beat Southampton, and then they were relegated a couple games later. But Craven Cottage is just an insanely, just an amazing, historic, preserved in time, fire trap of a stadium, and I have a soft spot in my heart for Fulham. With that said, I can't go beyond Alexander Mitrovic because they have not brought in another striker, right? True. They still have. It's Mitrovic and it's Rodrigo Muniz, who has not done anything for them just yet.
But I do think
Alexander Mitrovic is coming.
But striker, winger came in, Solomon. He can have goal involvements.
Hey, I was not yet done because I was going to mention Solomon because we saw him, and sadly, it's
because
I know
just because of the goals.
I hear you. And he can slalom, he can dribble. He's exactly what they need to kind of beef up that. I believe he's on the left side, right? To beef up that left side for them. And Manor Solomon is a great signing, one that they thought was going to come in, I guess, even when they were in the Championship.
True.
They thought they might be able to get him in at least on loan with the option to buy, but this time around at good price, and he could have that's low risk, high return that you could expect from Solomon. But you can't look beyond what Alexander Mitrovic. This is not the first time. This is like the third or fourth time that Mitrovic is going to get a shot at taking the Premier League by storm. And he hit 43 goals, 7 assists in 46 games last season for Fulham. He broke the EFL Championship record for goals in a season, and none of it matters if he can't score in the Premier League. None of it matters, okay? Like 2020, 2021, the season I got to see him, okay, live and in person, he scored 3 goals and had 3 assists in the Premier League, and one of those goals was that day against Southampton, okay? So ultimately, this guy needs to make it happen. And what better time to make it happen than in the beginning of the season, heading into when you have on paper the best Serbian team probably ever assembled, okay?
True.
Heading into the World Cup, get it started hot, and Mitrovic needs to be unstoppable. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very, very tough year, regardless of signings for Fulham. And I think you're right. Paulinho helps in that. Believe it or not, there's a lot of doubters out there about Andreas Pereira. I think he's going to fit in very, very well with his team. But we'll see.
But I like double pivot. Paulinho and Andreas Pereira makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. It's a good double pivot. And the last player I want to mention too, that I believe can be involved not as much maybe in goals but assists, Harry Wilson. Yeah. Harry Wilson too on one end, Manor Solomon on the other, and then you got Paulinho, Andreas Pereira, Mitrovic. Not bad. Not bad. It's improvement.
Yeah, I'm ready for Harry Wilson to go balls to the wall in his start in the Premier League, and then pick up a little injury that causes him to miss the World Cup. But we don't need to talk anymore about that.
No. No. Put down below, people, if you agree with me about Paulinho or Mitrovic. Go bold and tell us down below. And now it's Leeds USA that I gotta say here. I'll let you take the stage here again because I don't know. I had doubts here of who I picked the best player, but I do believe a new signing might be the best player at Leeds.
Yeah. I think it really comes down to for Leeds United, the most important player is the replacements. It's can you actually replicate Calvin Phillips? Not in one person. You're going to need 2 people probably to replicate Calvin Phillips. So Tyler Adams and Mark Roca have a ridiculously kind of outsized request of them this season to go with obviously the depth that they have in the midfield. But I don't know. That's not like Calvin Phillips was great. He was also injured quite a bit last season for them. Who was the guy that caused the most attention at Ellen Road at Leeds United? Rafinha. And who is his replacement?
Sinisterra.
So there you go. Sinisterra. And
Rafinha last season had 11 goals in the Prem, and Sinisterra in the Eredivisie had 12. So I believe if he has half the goals that he had in the Eredivisie, that's more than enough of an impact in his first season in the Prem. And I saw the third best scorer in the Premier League had like 6 goals for Leeds. So I fully believe Sinisterra can have that impact. Not Rafinha like straight away, but long term, the potential is definitely there with Luis Sinisterra. So great scouting.
Yeah. But there's also 2 that I do have to bring up, and it looks like it already made its way into the chat. Yes. There needs to be goals. Okay, and Patrick Bamford, obviously, Sinisterra will give goals. Sinisterra, I don't know if people know this, but Sinisterra had his breakout season essentially for Feyenoord only a year removed or a season removed from a ACL pretty bad injury year where he missed a whole season. So there are some concerns there for sure, obviously, that, he might see that happen again in the rough and tumble of the Premier League. But what will take some of that, that weight off of his shoulder? It will be guys like Patrick Bamford, but not even Patrick Bamford. Okay, you signed somebody for $30 million several seasons ago, right? And that was Rodrigo Moreno. Okay, he's still on the club, right? He's still there. He only had 5 or 6 goals last season. He has not looked like the guy that everybody kind of, that was making Spanish national team appearances. And if Rodrigo Moreno wants a spot on the plane, and there is still a spot on the plane for him because they are thin up top, then he needs to make that 9 position his own or find some way to do. He's 31. The clock is ticking. He has not done so well in a $30 million move to Leeds United. It needs to happen.
He's 31. So, I remember seeing him at Benfica as a youngster. Oh, my days, man. I'm getting old. Oh, my days. You said he was 31, and I was thinking of him as a Wonderkid at Benfica. Oh, my days, man.
Well, I got to double check now because I'm a little worried. Yeah, he's 31. He's 31. And here's what'll make you feel old. Guess he played in the Premier League for another team previous to Leeds United. Guess who it was?
I know. I can't think, but I know that.
Let's just say that at one point they were virtually insolvent.
Just go with it.
If I'm a Wanderer, Bolton.
Oh, Bolton.
He played for Bolton back in 2010. His Premier League debut was for Bolton in October of 2010 against Wigan Athletic. And he scored 1 goal in 17 games that season. And then 10 years later, he returns with Leeds United. So he's got to do something this year for them that doesn't involve turning the fan base against him.
What a career he had too! Like from Benfica, Valencia, he went all over the place. And Spanish national team, if he wants to be involved, he can. I like that show. Put down below who do you think is the guy at Leeds, and yeah, we want to know your thoughts. And now Leicester, okay? Like for me, you might as well put who was the best last season too, because like Leicester didn't sign anyone this transfer window, and I think they're the only club in the top 7 leagues that still haven't even done 1 move in. So Brendan Rodgers, what is up? But I think Thielema is gonna go, so I couldn't put him in the best. Okay, so yeah, my best player for Leicester is James Maddison. If he's in form, I have no doubt in my mind that man, 25 now, he wants to move, and if he wants to go even bolder to get a move, he will have to put in the results now. And the player that got an ACL last season, no ACL this one, and I fully believe it's another player that can move afterwards. It's Wesley Fofana, and I can't even imagine for how much is he gonna leave after Harry Maguire leaving for 80. Fofana, God knows how much he's gonna leave for. So yeah.
How much does an ACL cost, I guess? Well, we are hearing a lot more about Chelsea pursuing him in some respects, and they are in the market for a CB, so
definitely
it remains to be seen. But yes, I mean, I just want to see Wesley Fofana back and playing at his best, and yeah, whether or not, I mean, really it comes down to this. The only reason I can think of that they didn't spend anything is because they were in the net red last season. In purchasing the 2 guys that need to really step it up or get the heck out of Dodge. And that is, they bought Boubakary Samari and they bought, who's the other one? Patson Daka, right? Patson Daka. Now, there were injuries involved for Daka. There were transition issues with Boubakary Samari. We saw Soumare with Lille in their championship season. He was phenomenal. He's a phenomenal prospect. It's just it has not translated to the Premier League, and frankly, he's looked lost. But you couple that with the fact that you didn't have the best of Wilfred Ndidi last year for Leicester City. I'm actually worried for where Leicester City can be this season if these guys don't step it up. So I'm calling on the guys they spent big money on at the King Power last season to step it up and propel them, because sometimes a signing that didn't work last season that works this season feels like a whole new signing all over again.
True. I agree. And with Leicester too, I just want to say I'd expect Ndidi to have moved on already. True. People were saying he was the best CDM in the Premier League at a given moment a couple of seasons ago. So Ndidi, I want to see it. Okay. Soumare came with those expectations to replace him. I think at the time, at least I was thinking that. So Soumare step up and make it happen. So put down below your thoughts about Leicester. And now, Premier League winners, Man City, okay? And I think it's best player. It's hard to go against Kevin De Bruyne. But I think you're going to go bold. No? Kevin De Bruyne, best player? Definitely no.
Yeah, I mean, we just skipped over Liverpool, but that's cool.
What? Oh yeah, Liverpool. I have Liverpool. Like
so
Sofa scored. Like, oh my days. Let's
Oh,
go
come
Liverpool.
on.
No, definitely.
Well, these are
Liverpool.
back to back. Isn't it funny that they're next to each other alphabetically? Because these are hard. Obviously, we can do Man City first if you want to do Man City.
Let's go Man City. Then I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Then yes, I'm going bold here. Okay, no, there is undoubtedly to me, Manchester City's best player is KDB. Okay, but ultimately, I think the most important player for them this season is going to be Jack Grealish. What? It's going to be Jack Grealish. Why? Because I really think that there needs to be somebody that capably can take a foul, that can still be in the 11, that can, and let's look at Jack Grealish's, foul suffered number, can create chances, and he did that last season per 90. If you look at I forget how many starts he had last season. He had over 20 starts, but it wasn't all 38 games, right? But he had a bunch of starts last season, like 33 appearances, is going to have more this season. They need somebody beyond De Bruyne to be capable of feeding the beast. And who is the beast? Well, the beast is Erling Haaland.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Foden, right? You do have Foden, but I don't know. I have a feeling Haaland and Grealish are going to form a partnership that is not only going to take the field alight. It is also going to kind of take light off the field. I think they're going to form a friendship, and I think you're going to see maybe between Foden, Grealish, and Haaland, you're going to see some Sancho, Haaland, and who's the other one? Forgetting
Royce,
right now.
Royce?
No, not Royce. There was another young buck. Who was
Jude.
that at Dortmund? Oh, and Jude. Well, Jude.
Well, he wasn't there at the same time. But I get you where you're coming from. But best player, I'd say behind De Bruyne, or I'm gonna say Haaland, man, or Ruben Dias, literally. And Rodri too. Like, most important might be Rodri. But considering that most important last season, sorry, I'm going to restructure this because Calvin Phillips has come and he's going to settle. But I'm going to say this, man. I think Foden will be more important than Jack Grealish next season, Breton.
I don't know about that.
I believe Foden will be more important because, come on, the brilliance, the double digits that I know guaranteed goals and assists, Foden will give it. And, yeah, I think Grealish will improve from last season, but I feel he's going to be overshadowed by Mahrez too and Foden. I feel these two players will play better. But Haaland, that's the biggest doubt. Like, is Haaland going to score the 20 goals? Like, let's wait and see. But if he doesn't, I still believe City might still win the league because they're absolutely ridiculously stacked. But, yeah, just need to sort the left back that Cucurella has.
I'm with you, but I'm just well, Cucurella, all I'm saying is Brighton, hold out for the 50 million. Hold out for the 50 million. Come on, man. Make it hard for Manchester City, although you might piss off Cucurella in the process. It already seems like he's handed in his transfer request. But no, I think it just comes down to the fact that Jack Grealish has to have a good season. He has to have a good season. And you got that price tag. But the kid, he used to be the face of Aston Villa. He has said it himself in his own way. He has said that he has had a tough time transitioning. New coach, new atmosphere, new players. It's very different when you spend all your years right at one club and then just you're thrown into this, and then on top of that you have £100 million essentially, the price tag thrown on the back of your head. So I really am expecting something. This is not Grealish versus Foden for me. I honestly think that if he can get moving, the way Jack Grealish wins moments, the way he wins, he makes shot-creating actions and even goal-creating actions, and the way he gets in the box, I really do think Grealish could be in line for a very, very good season. But that's not taking away from what I think Foden can do.
Definitely. The 100 million is the pressure. And he even became the Gucci ambassador after getting that Man City move. So he's one of the most talked people in England, so the world will be watching what's going to happen with Jack Grealish. So put down below your thoughts about Man City, of who's the best or the most important player at the club. So now Liverpool right here. And yes, the best player at Liverpool just got his contract extension of 3 years. Totally deserved, in my opinion. And that is Mo Salah, the best player at Liverpool, in my opinion. But Liverpool has something that... This is how I judge the best player. Well, at least doing this. Is he the best player in his position? And Liverpool have a bunch that are in the discussion of best in their respective positions. Trent Alexander-Arnold, one of the best right backs. Alisson, one of the best goalkeepers. Virgil van Dijk, one of the best center backs. Salah, one of the best wingers. Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, one of the best midfielders in the world too. So a lot of one of the best. So I went with Salah in all of this. But yeah.
Okay.
Bold mention.
Yeah, I don't really know how you can't go with him. I mean, I think Fabinho has obviously played an incredibly outsized, has made an incredibly outsized impact on this team, and they actually are missing something when he's out of the 11. You could say the same of their backup center, not their backup center backs, but the guy that lines up next to Van Dijk. Whether it's Matip or it's Ibrahima Konate, those guys, there's a lot of pressure that's put on their shoulders, even if it's not being in the limelight as, Van Dijk often is. I honestly believe that Ibrahima Konate has, long-term, he has the level of Van Dijk in him.
I agree.
Okay. Wow. I thought you were going to yell at me or something. I was worried for a second.
The potential of Konate is there. But I do have a doubt between Saliba and Konate, who will have a better future. I really don't know about but Konate definitely levels. Definitely.
Well, that comes to me, that comes down to coaching. And I would trust Konate the longer he's with Klopp than Saliba the longer he's with Arteta, because I don't think Arteta and Saliba still see eye to eye.
I think it's not even a choice type B thing. But I agree with you. But Saliba, I think he's mentalized that if he's gonna play for France, he's got to sort it out. So
he does.
But I like the Konate shot. I think he's got a crazy run, I think, of no losses or just one loss with Liverpool, which was the Champions League final. So whenever Konate played starting, they only lost the Champions League final, Liverpool. And that itself is a crazy stat, proving the importance he has. So yeah, I like the Konate shout. And Robertson,
we can't move.
Can't not forget Robertson at left back.
Well, or their backups. I'll be interested to see, Calvin Ramsey, if he even gets some time. Tsimikas gets a longer run out. Or they're all going to go the way of Minamino. Who knows? But I got to say, I don't think we can move on, without talking about the other pieces of that Liverpool attack. And, he's insanely important to this. You don't spend that amount of money to just have him come off the bench. So Darwin Núñez, I mean, if he's showing the finishing he's currently showing in preseason, aside from that wonderful 40-minute flurry, you could say that half of Twitter has some questions. The other half says it's preseason. Yeah. So, who's right? We're going to find out soon enough, right?
It's confidence. Darwin, it's confidence. And when he will get it right, he'll be getting 4 goals in a Premier League game. And I do believe that will happen. So
fair enough.
It's just he needs to get the psyche right. It's normal, man. It's normal.
Yeah, but do you think Sadio Mane's absence is going to be felt at some point this season? It's just do they start off not as dominant as Liverpool has started off in the past, and that puts them in a hole right away, or it's going to be really interesting.
But what I gotta say is I feel like the unexpected for Liverpool last season was signing Luis Diaz in January. I think Klopp expected to get him in the summer, so I feel like they just got an early answer with that. And Luis Diaz, just rest assured, he will. I feel like he's gonna put those numbers that will. Well, short term will not put as noticeable, but it will be noticeable definitely that Mane that isn't there. Okay, Sadio Mane will be noticed. I agree. At the start, people will be saying, "Oh, there's definitely a goal involvement that aren't happening here at Liverpool. So put down below your thoughts about who's the best player at Liverpool in your opinion. And if you're enjoying this video, do not forget to like the video and go bold. So next now, Man United, okay? And again, if he stays, the best is Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, no doubt in my mind, the best player at United if he stays is Ronaldo. But I don't think he will. I do not think he will. And I do think I'm not going to say I've got inside sources at Sporting, but I know a person or two. And there's still no confirmation on my end that there was something for Sporting with Ronaldo. But I wouldn't be surprised if a chat or two has happened already. But there's still nothing. Still nothing.
It is amazing to me, and we don't know all the details, but it is amazing to me that they called the meeting, right, for him to say, no, I still want to go. Mm-hmm. But I guess at least for Ten Hag, he walks away from it, and now he still is, whether he plays for them or not. He still is the most important player for Manchester United because they need to move on. If he's gone, they need to move on.
I'm going to say best.
Yeah, okay, you can say best. Well, here's how he's most important. Man United needs to replace those goals. They have not made an attacking signing as of yet, but they do have Anthony Martial. They do have Marcus Rashford. They do have a Jadon Sancho that is probably chomping at the bit to, prove himself. They do have young bucks like Alanga, right? But when it comes down to it, okay, Rashford's best season was 15, 16 goals, I think. Maybe more. Martial was 16 or 17 Premier League goals. Yeah. All right, 17 in that 1 year, right? That 1 year. You have Sancho obviously has done the 15 and 15 or the 18 and 18, but that was in the Bundesliga. You're going to need to replace a whole lot more than that because it takes probably 65, 70 plus goals if you want to be top four.
I agree.
Right?
Agreed. I think the best player for Man United still hasn't happened, and I'm just going to call it out. It's going to be Frankie de Jong if he comes. Like, literally, I believe that transfer is necessary for Erik ten Hag, and that's why he's still going to go for him. I believe that. But Bruno Fernandes is another player that when Ronaldo wasn't there, everybody was saying Bruno Fernandes was one of the best midfielders in the Prem, and actually comparing him with Kevin De Bruyne at the time. I'm not lying, okay? That was the case. And I'm going to mention Sancho, I feel like, will be the best player with Erik ten Hag next season. It's bold to say right now, but I believe the impact will be clearly noticeable. The right tactics, with a player that can provide assists non-stop and a goal threat. Sancho will love Erik ten Hag ball. So, yeah, I got to go with Jadon Sancho. But I could say Erik ten Hag, the most important, but he's not a player. But yeah.
But yes, I do think Ten Hag's system is going to help Rashford, is going to help Sancho, is going to help these guys. And I really do feel like while they might not be able to get all the goals needed to be in the top four for United, and Bruno's going to have to step up and some others, they're going to have to make a signing at the 9.
True.
I do think Sancho, I don't even really think it's bold to say that Jadon Sancho will have a good year.
I agree.
We'll see.
Put down below
Man
your
United.
thoughts about Man United, people. Who do you think is going to be the best player? So now, Newcastle. Newcastle, okay? And the best player and most important, in my opinion, it's Bruno Guimarães, okay? Last season, he was the reason why Newcastle were going bold in midfield. And the impact, the wins, the home fortress of Newcastle was because they had a man like Bruno Guimarães conducting the maestro in that Newcastle midfield. So, Bruno Guimarães is my choice at Newcastle.
I mean, in short, he was the lifeblood that was the renaissance of Newcastle, right? He certainly made me eat my words. I am still just so flabbergasted that the first player that Newcastle really, I know it was Kieran Trippier, but the first player that Newcastle was able to bring in where it kind of outmatches their identity, that current identity with the new money, of course, was Bruno. And, it's pretty damn clear that Bruno could start probably for almost anybody in the league, anybody in the Premier League. And he was that back half of the season. He wasn't just a good player. He was one of the best midfielders in the whole Premier League. So, he won the most ground duels per 90 among all players in Europe last season. Ground duels per 90, okay? He also has won the most fouls per 90 in the Premier League last season. So he's everywhere. He's a pest. He can tackle. He can jumpstart counterattacks.
Mm-hmm.
He can take you on and shoot a shot from 25, 30 yards out. Like, there is nothing that he can't do. And Eddie Howe has figured out a way to kind of maximize those strengths for him. He also, without telling him twice, he aggressively presses, right? He's intelligent in his movement. He doesn't waste movement. So if it sounds like I'm fanboying on Bruno, this Bruno, not the other Bruno. It's whether or not they line him up properly this season. I think some people see him maybe as an 8, or as a 6. I think him as an 8. Which is where he operated most of last season, right? So stick to that. Don't change that game. But if you can get somebody that is the warrior, that is the 6, well, beyond Shelby, who is prone to like beheading. He is, but he's a former Liverpool player, right? Yeah. He's also prone to like beheading people. I just think if you can get a better disciplined 6 behind him, you can really unlock Bruno's kind of world-class playing ability.
Shelby is bold, so that's where he gets points with me. But I gotta say, with most important, I said Bruno is both, but I just want to give a shout to this player because he deserves it. Dan Burn, okay? That defense was much better because Dan Burn was there. And being the man who would put the head where no one would put their feet, maybe. Just like that quote of Nemanja Vidic. Dan Burn is that guy, okay? And I believe he's a symbol, too, in that defense at Newcastle. And I'm hyped to see this new Nick Pope Botman. I believe we might change the answer next season. So we might as well see what's going to happen. So put down below your thoughts about Newcastle, of who's going to be the best player.
Yeah, but come on, give me a sneak peek. Give me a sneak peek. Where do you have Newcastle in your predictions?
I have top 8, yeah. I love Newcastle, man. I put Newcastle ahead of Aston Villa, maybe. So, wow. Yeah. I really like the home fortress, the fan base, and the psyche. Like, this is what people don't think about with football. These football players is not just FIFA. There are people. And if you know that a company is going to invest, like, in the next 2 years, every single transfer window in better players, you might as well be at your best game. So, Almiron, that's why I see Almiron being a totally different player now in this Newcastle rebuild. And Eddie Howe, I think he's doing an excellent job, okay, controlling every single variable that has to be at a team that wants to be a top club in the future. So I'm liking
and
that.
you got to expect that they've got at least 1 or 2 more signings. I know they got priced out of Ekatike, but you got to think, if United's going after Sesko, maybe Newcastle's going to throw, and how Botman transitions. If they need the 6, I love Shreyansh Sinya throwing out Sangare. Sangare was phenomenal in the Eredivisie, so I just really think
and he rejected Benfica. I know that for a fact. He rejected Benfica.
Really?
Yeah, he rejected the club. Benfica wanted to sign him, so
another season of Weigl then?
Well, no, definitely no, definitely no. That can't happen for Roger Schmidt. So put down below your thoughts, okay, on Newcastle, on who is the best and the most important player. But yeah, now Nottingham Forest. I fully believe we will have. Well, I have my answer for the best player is a new signing, and no surprise, Jesse Lingard. With the big bucks, okay, I have to believe that Jesse Lingard will have a big impact at Nottingham Forest. That, he's got expectations, and it's an iconic club too, man. So I'm sure he'll be posting non-stop Forest jerseys, like retro Forest jerseys, because there must be some cold kits, okay? So
oh yeah, I know the wage bill looks different at Forest now with Jesse Lingard on board. I do want to see him thrive. I want to see Nottingham Forest thrive. I have to clarify my position on Nottingham Forest in terms of listen, they've brought in a lot of people. They've spent a lot of money up front. And my qualms are not with the fact that they've spent. It's simply that because I know who they had to replace. They have to replace Zinkernagel. They have to replace Bryce Samba. They have to replace
James
oh,
Gardner.
And Jed Spence, who ends up going to Tottenham from Middlesbrough. I get that, right? A lot of their best successes came in the form of a loan.
True.
In the championship last season, which is why I don't know why you wouldn't necessarily utilize that route again and conserve maybe some of the cash because they spent $20 million up front for Nico Williams. They spent $20 million up front for Awoniyi, who's great in the Bundesliga for Union Berlin and will probably translate. But ultimately, the most important player for Nottingham Forest, in my opinion, is not going to be Jesse Lingard. It's going to be Dean Henderson. Okay,
I like that
because there's a football manager thought to this. It's that when you sign too many players, right, you kind of upend the team chemistry. That's kind of a joke here because they don't translate. Real life is very different than a game that I used to play incessantly. But ultimately, Dean Henderson is going to be the most important because that back line, pretty much that whole back line is new. Is new. All right. And I really think it comes down to if Dean Henderson is as good as we all think he is. Right? As good as we all remember when he had that stint with Sheffield United. Dean Henderson could be one of the best goalkeepers of this season and could keep Nottingham Forest, at least prevent some goals, which I think is going to be a tough start to the season for Forest.
I'm going to change my answer, man. You convinced me. It is Dean Henderson because, he's competing with Nick Pope that just went to Newcastle if he's going to be selected for England because Ramsdale and Pickford are locks. So, Pope or Dean Henderson, put down below who is your pick for England, okay? And I love that one. I love that one. And Nico Williams, 20 million. Oh, my God. He's still a Wonderkid, though. But, woo, that was big money.
Steve Cooper, I'm really looking forward to it. I want to see if 21-year-old Brennan Johnson, who is also going to try and break his way into the starting 11 for Wales in the World Cup. Steve Cooper's favorite player in terms of who he played the most was Brennan Johnson. So it'll be really interesting to see if he has a place in this Premier League squad or if he's more of a depth piece. But I think he's going to surprise some people. He's a good player. Good player.
Okay, put down below who is your choice for Nottingham Forest. And if you're enjoying this video, do not forget to like this video. And now, Southampton, okay? And I'm going to go here with one of the best set-piece takers in the world of football. And it's another player. I'm shocked how he's still at Southampton. It's James Ward-Prowse, baby. And that player, it goes bold consistently. And he, for me, is the best player at Southampton, no doubt.
I mean,
do you agree?
He's been, I do agree. James Ward-Prowse has been at Southampton since he was 9 years old. 9 years old. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's not young, and I really would have thought that this would have been the season, and maybe it still is, but I really would have thought that this would have been the season that somebody comes in and brings him in and gives him a new adventure. But he's made over 300 appearances for the club. You can't fault him for loyalty. You can't fault him for wanting that consistency. But my gosh, he's going to go down as one of the best free kick specialists in Premier League history. And he's got one of the best conversions from free kick. In fact, better than a lot of names out there in their careers. Better than a lot of names out there.
I know you're hinting.
I need to get my stats because I don't just want to throw that out there, but I know it's better than a lot of names. You'd be very, very surprised. I mean, his free kick conversion rate is like 17.5%, which doesn't sound high, but it's high.
It's high.
Okay, when you compare it to others, that's almost 1 in 5. And I really think it's not going to be this season, but by the time he hangs up his boots, he will surpass David Beckham as scoring the most free kicks in Premier League history. And a lot of that could be because he's going to spend pretty much his whole career in the Premier League. But my goodness, he's such a good player.
I didn't know, man. Passing Beckham, that is bold, man. And
that would be bold.
He went to Real Madrid, this man. So, Luis, James Ward-Prowse showing levels. And the last shot's Ben Narek. Okay, and Salisu. Like, those two in center back, if Southampton are going to stay because that can be a debate. You never know. They have to go bold with these youngsters. And Bazunu, come on, Irish fella, come on, I believe in you.
Here's what I don't understand. Like, they spent a pretty penny on Gavin Bazunu, right?
It wasn't
right, and they have what I think it's Caballero, right? They've got Alex McCarthy.
Bazunu.
They've got this new Polish Matuszlis, who they brought in from the Turkish Super League, and Bazunu. I mean, McCarthy's probably the starter, right? Or is it Bazunu?
Bazunu, long term will be the guy at Southampton.
Okay.
Look, I'm not gonna say he's the reincarnation of Shay Given, but I have excellent memories of a goalkeeper for Ireland at Shay Given. So I'm very hopeful for Gavin Bazunu to get to that level. Like, he came from City. Like, City, you never know. You never know what can happen. So go bold, please.
Go bold, young boy. Yeah, I mean, hey, he's the only one to. Didn't he stoned Ronaldo not once but twice, or something like that?
That game was. But then Ronaldo, it was like 2 goals in the end. So it was a weird one for me. Ireland against Portugal.
I got 2 more shout outs for the Saints because we spent a lot of time on JWP, and rightfully so. I think Southampton fans are going to fall in love with Joe Aribo and probably remember Joe Aribo when he was coming up as a Charlton player. I want to say Charlton Athletic. And then he went for literally next to nothing to Rangers. And my goodness, he turned into just a great player. Versatile, determined, and I think he fits right in with the Southampton mold. And I think he's going to have an impact right away. And then the other one I got to throw out there that's new is definitely Sekou Mara. A lot of people don't know anything about him. He was part of the Bordeaux bargain basement sale. But I think lucky for Bordeaux, they just got reinstated to League 2. They were sent down to League 3 or Nacional, and now they're back up to League 2. But Sekou Mara is a forward he's not Armando Broja. He's certainly going to be better long-term, I think, than Che Adams or Adam Armstrong. So Southampton could be seeing a whole lot of Sekou Mara up top or on the wing for them this season. And I just needed to shout those guys out.
Great shouts. So put down below, who do you think will be the best player for Southampton next season? And now Tottenham here. And I'm very curious to know. I'll start here with the best player at Tottenham, especially under an Antonio Conte system. I'm going to say Harry Kane. No injuries at the start of this season, and he will go bold to get that move after this season. I do not believe Harry Kane will stay at Tottenham after the summer of 2023, but I do believe Harry Kane will go bold this Premier League season and will be definitely in the top 3 Premier League goal scorers next season. So, Harry Kane.
I mean, I know we want to talk about Spurs a little more, but I can't be more in line with what you're saying. I mean, Harry Kane, it's got to be him. Considering the terrible first half of the season he had, and how he really pepped up after that, and how a lot of that had to do with Antonio Conte, I just really think, like, listen, this man not only is auditioning for other big clubs, he's auditioning for the World Cup, which he doesn't really need to. He's going to be there. But by the end of the season, there is no doubt in my mind that he's going to be the third top goal scorer in Premier League history. He only needs 4 goals to surpass a couple people, right? He needs 26. So he needs to go bold. And I said this on our podcast last week. And by the way, if you're not listening to our podcast weekly, we send it out every Monday. We post it every Monday. So please follow, subscribe, and definitely check that out. But Harry Kane, he needs 26 this season if he wants to surpass Wayne Rooney, I believe, for number 2 on the list. Okay? And I just got to say, I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility. He's done 27 in a year previously.
In the Prem?
We'll see. In the Prem. Okay. He's done 27 in the Prem.
He can get it. He can get it. And he's got the best manager ever with him at Tottenham. So if there's a season, it's... He's better than Poch. Conte's a better manager than Pochettino. Definitely.
Ooh. Oh, what? I think we have another podcast. Oh, better than Poch, yes. But I mean, you said ever. You said ever. You mean the best? You mean the best Spurs boss ever, or you mean the best manager ever?
Who was better than him?
Conte?
Who was better than Conte with Kane?
Oh, with Kane. You mean with Kane?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, with Kane.
Okay.
I mean, Sorry. Yes, Red.
Sorry,
No. For me, Conte
I
legitimately
got you.
is a top 5 manager in the
Yeah.
world right now. I've been saying this
yeah.
before. I just love how he plays. And I love how he's like, I come in, I bring success. That's how you
The
have
chat
to do things.
The chat knows what I was thinking. I was thinking you were saying Antonio Conte was the best manager ever, which I know better to think that you said that. I know,
Come on, me,
but yeah,
Portuguese man saying that.
I hear you. That's why I was so surprised.
Yes.
It takes a lot to get a response out of me. So
and Son too, man. If Son
Son,
can
of
be
course.
mentioned, Son, Kulu, you never know. So put down below who's the best or most important player in your opinion for Tottenham. And now, West Ham. So the best player here is a player that I would expect to have left this summer, okay? But the price tag was way too bold. Understandably, if it's more than 100 million, I wouldn't pay for him. And that is Declan Rice. Declan Rice at West Ham, the best and most important player, vital for that team. But I'm going to say this. Soucek is massively underrated. Because if I took Rice off that team, if I took Soucek off the West Ham team, they would feel that too. I wouldn't say the same way, but pretty similar because he's not replaceable right now in that team. So Soucek, in my opinion, is the most important and best output to Declan Rice.
Yeah, not only that, them collectively together, right? Rice and Soucek, it's massive. It's the whole reason that team has been pretty damn successful over the last few years. I'm a little worried if the consistency kind of runs out this season. I think it was a lot of money to spend on Scamacca to bring him in off of one big season. But obviously he has the tools. He has the physical tools. And he's got the supporting cast. I mean, with and at worst, what happens? At worst, what happens? You put Antonio back up there and you get top 8. Top 7. Exactly. But Scamacca, if he can get off and he can get off and hit the ground running, I use that phrase way too much. And he can get fed by Bowen and he can get fed by Fornals, and I really do feel he could be in line. He's going to be a real hit or miss this season. I don't think there's going to be a middle ground for him. Either he's going to be a holler in a West Ham shirt and not an Ajax shirt, or he's going to be just a star and the 9 that they've been looking for their whole lives.
If he's that, he'll leave straight away.
Probably. I mean, you got to cut bait.
It'll be like, like, this guy is so good. We got to get him 80 million.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
especially if Tottenham let go of Kane, he will be one of the top contenders to replacement, I'd say, if he has a successful season. I'm already saying that about him.
Well, here's the interesting thing. What is success for West Ham this year? They've made it's been exactly. It's consistency, right? They've what? It's European competition the last 2 seasons.
And
so now
they spend to maintain. Even the center back of Stade Rennes, they spend big time, 30 million. So
now injured. Now injured. Now he's now he's out a couple months. But they brought a guy into Stade Rennais, which is where not Naïef Aguerd was. His replacement at Stade Rennais is one I really like. That's Arthur Theet. West Ham, I agree. Consistency is key. If they can do, they're in a whole new realm if they get 3 years of European competition.
True.
This isn't Burnley back in the day making. You remember back in the day when they actually made European qualifiers?
But Sean Dyche was making miracles right there.
I know.
Well, here at least I see West Ham standing by and saying to Chelsea, you ain't getting Declan Rice. He is our player. Yeah. And that's, to be fair, that's a big boy mentality. And I'm dying to see what West Ham will do with David Moyes next season. So put down below your expectations for West Ham and who is the best player. And now, the last team, and I love them being the last team, that a lot of people consider them the Portuguese national team representatives in the Premier League. And I understand that name being called out to Wolverhampton. Okay, and yes, they go bold. And who's your best player for this one, Brenton?
I'm going to name a Portuguese player because Wolves need a striker. They're not going to get a striker right now because Raul Jimenez is injured again.
Mm-hmm.
They have loaned out Fabio Silva to Anderlecht. Hwang Hee-chan has not impressed and likely could be on his way out on loan. Patrick Cutrone, who they brought in a while back, he's an afterthought and probably is on his way out as well. So who plays striker? I don't know. Where do their goals come from? Their goals are going to come from Pedro Neto. And they're gonna need him, 1, healthy, and 2, playing at his highest level, and 3, probably to ratchet it up to a whole nother level to like Diogo Jota levels, because he virtually missed the whole season last season with injury, but he came back for 13 matches late in the season, and like Wolves won still just 3 of the games that he was with, and to be honest, I'm more worried about Wolves than I are, I think Wolves will be closer to the relegation than I do the European spots. Okay, if they don't make changes, and they've brought literally like nobody in except the center back for a lot of money, Nathan Collins. So,
I agree. But Pedro Neto, I agree with that too, and that was gonna be my shout. And for the shout here, Ruben Neves will leave Wolves, or he has the clear intention to leave Wolves. I can say that here confidently that that's what he wants. Ruben Neves. They're still going after Mateus Nunes, right?
No,
Mateus Nunes rejected blatantly. No, it won't happen.
Sad.
Mateus Nunes had it. I gotta say it, 150K a week offer, and he rejected from Wolves. So, and I thank God he did, because Mateus Nunes is bigger destination, City or Liverpool. Liverpool, I'd say for him. But staying with Wolves, I think Pedro Neto will be the best player, or considered the best player, at the end of next season too. And Cody playing in the English national team, he is vital for the structure of that team. And if they don't go down, or they stay in the middle of the table, Cody is vital as the leader at the back and of the whole team. And José Sá, come on, José Sá Tombo is so good at goalie and clear impact. And Ait Nouri is a great fullback, and I do expect there's a shortage of left backs in the world, and I can see him going.
You're already seeing injuries there take their tolls. I mean, Raul Jimenez, and who is the guy that went over near the end of last season that impressed everybody? Portuguese player.
Yes, it was Chiquinho.
Is it Totti?
Chiquinho.
Yeah, Chiquinho. He's out. He's out for the season, isn't he?
Yeah,
was it ACL?
He didn't deserve that, Chiquinho too. But Chiquinho will be solid in the future for Wolves. He will be forgotten, and he will be remembered. I really believe he's gonna come back stronger. Because
can you tell what I'm doing though? I'm kind of talking myself into whether or not they're going to get sucked into a relegation fight, but I still think that they have enough quality across their
the manager,
and the manager. I don't know. I don't know.
They can be, but it all depends on how, with a Ruben Neves leaving, who they sign to. I agree with what you said there.
Yeah.
People need to watch out what's happening at Wolves, because something disastrous can happen. Happen, but I'm not going to say it will. So put down below your thoughts about Wolves. Who's the best player? What are their expectations? And yes, did we forget any club?
No, I don't think we did. That was a lot of fun, though. That was a whirlwind, and I just can't believe we are so close. You're going live tomorrow, though, right?
Yes,
going live for this?
The Community Shield, and it's Liverpool Man City. I want to see who wins that one. Very curious. And if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like this video, and please, people, put down below suggestions of other topics that you want to see us debate on a live, man. We just love to have a chat on a certain topic and going deep and bold on it. So, people, thank you for listening to us until now. If you're here, great stream. Thank you. You'll never walk alone right here. Going bold, joining the stream. And thank you for listening to us until now, community.